Hello everyone, it's Eve. So today's just a mini video. Full disclosure, it is not a true crime video, so if you are purely 100% on them, you can turn it off. I won't be offended. But it is an interesting story, and it does show you the connection between the church and state and this type of thing. Obviously we've spoken about that in past cases before, and when I read this, I read it in a book called This Great Nation, and it's basically about different kind of scandals and controversy in Ireland through the years. And so when I read it, I thought it was funny, but I thought it just showed typically how it was back then. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today. I'll just say you've probably noticed my little red shoulders. Please be sun safe and wear sun cream. I didn't think the way this shirt works, I was sitting at my parents' back and I didn't really think anything of it. Once or twice I was like, oh look, there's the sun, it's nice. And then I came home and then I was like, oh no. And when I got up I could see, so it's not nice. Be sun safe, wear your sun cream. I remember learning before that Australia has the highest rates of skin cancer, but it's not because of the native people there. It's because of that all us folk who went over and obviously don't wear sunscreen, and it's so hot over there and all this stuff, and so that's why it's so high. It's not because of obviously the native people who should be there. So today's video anyway is about the Late Late Show. So obviously for anybody here in Ireland, you definitely know what that is. Even if you've never watched it, you know what it is. For anyone outside of Ireland, the Late Late Show is our talk show, our late talk show. It first aired on Friday the 6th of July 1962, and it is the second longest running late night chat show in the world, behind the Tonight Show in America. The very first presenter on it was Gay Byrne, and he done it from 1962 all the way up until 1999. So he's actually the longest running chat show host in the world ever. And then there's obviously been people after him. There was Pat Kenny and Ryan Tubridy. Ryan Tubridy's doing it now at the moment. I think it was only those two after him. And someone done it in between Gay Byrne's for a little bit. I think 6 months or something, when he took a hiatus to go to London, and then he came back and took it back over. So the show is obviously, if you're familiar with chat shows at all, you're obviously gonna know they'd have people on. They'd have sports persons on, even when the Olympics and stuff is on, they'll obviously have them on after. They'll have musicians on, they'll have different celebrities and stuff on to promote whatever they have. And then they also have people on who've gone through things, in life and stuff, just normal Joe soaps, let's say, who have gone through either, tremendous tragedies or these tremendous achievements, these type of things. Anyway, you get the gist. So our story takes place on Saturday the 12th of February 1966. Now the Late Late Show began on Friday, and it's been on Friday for as long as I've remembered, but at some point for a while it did switch to Saturdays. It said it was something to do with during the summer they switched it, and it would have started later. I think it started at 11:30 instead of 9:30 at night. So from what I read, I think it had started to kind of go a bit slow, the shows, I don't know, the ratings low or whatever it was. So Gay Byrne decided to try introduce new things to kind of mix it up. And so he done, one of these kind of, I know it's called, I know there's a show called Mr. and Mrs., but it's that type of thing. I think it could be celebrity. I don't know what the actual original name was when they first done it in England. But you know yourself now, Philip Schofield does Mr. and Mrs. So it's basically they'll ask one person, so one husband and wife, let's say at the time in the 60s. So they ask the husband questions, and then the wife comes back and answers them, and they see how many of them they match. And I think the idea was they'd win a little bit of money. So a couple from the audience volunteered to take part in the game, Patrick and Eileen Fox. So Eileen went off and Patrick had to answer the questions. So there were 5 questions, and they were just typical things. So there was, given the choice, where would Eileen like to go on holiday? So there was 2 weeks in Spain, a cruise down the River Shannon, and a trip to New York. Then there was where did you have your first kiss? Indoors, outdoors, or in a car? Where does your wife first feel the cold? Her feet, her nose, or somewhere else? And even there, when he says somewhere else, there was a bit of a giggle from the crowd, because obviously they were, giggles. And then there was after like a party, after a dinner party, when does your wife clean up? So would she clean up straight away? Would she, you know, leave it a while and then tidy up, or does she leave it till the next morning? I love how it's just, when does your wife clean up after your dinner party? So the fifth question, now they went in that order. The middle question, the third question that he asked was, what colour nightie did your wife wear on your honeymoon? And without missing a beat, Patrick said, transparent. And so there was a bit of a, little bit of a giggle or whatever, but not a huge thing. And then Gabriel was obviously like, well, what colour is that? What to pick? Because they had to, the answers were black, white, or another colour. So when Patrick said transparent, Gabriel kind of was like, oh, so like, what colour is that? And then Patrick said, oh, it depends on what way you're looking at it. Gay said to the audience then, will like a lady in the audience please help me out here? So they were like, oh, some other colour. Grand. And then Eileen came back out. So again, like, so her answers were a cruise down to Shannon, which Patrick also said. They both said she felt the cold in her feet. They both said she'd clean up straight away. And then I think he said they kissed indoors and she said they kissed outdoors. They got that one wrong anyway. So then when he asked Eileen, what colour nightie did you wear on your honeymoon? She said, and quite low, she said it in, because I've heard the audio, and she said, I didn't wear any nightie. And like, that was actually quite low. I don't even know if the audience heard it. And then Gay Bourne said, I keep going to say Gabo, sorry, because that's kind of what he went by. He kind of went, what? Like, and said, she said she didn't wear any. And then that's kind of when the audience kind of erupted into laughter and stuff like that. And it was real like, oh, you know. Now, Eileen herself, like, giggled. A real, like, a loud giggle, you know, like, because again, it was just a bit of fun. So, like, she kind of said, I didn't wear it. And when Gay Bourne said, like, what? She went, like, it was just a real healthy giggle. Like, it was funny. So, that was near the end of the show. So, it seemed like Gay Bourne enjoyed it. It seemed like Patrick and Eileen enjoyed it. The audience there enjoyed it. So it seemed like it went down well. Except one man didn't enjoy it. And that was the Bishop of Clonfert in Galway, in Loughrea, Reverend Thomas Ryan. And so he was at home watching and he was outraged. He couldn't believe that this type of thing was being discussed on not only on like TV in general, but by the national broadcaster. So he immediately got his secretary to take down the statement that he like dictated. Reverend Ryan, Bishop Ryan, he rang the station while the show was still going on to complain and say that he was outraged. And then he got his secretary to ring the Sunday newspapers. Remember, it was on the Saturday night. So he rang the Sunday newspapers with the statement from the bishop, basically saying that he was disgusted by this. The Sunday papers even rang Gay Bourne then, you know, to get a comment on the bishop being disgusted. And he was confused. The presenter was confused. So he had to be like, what part of the show was he disgusted by? And so obviously they told him or whatever. So then on the Sunday, the bishop began his sermon by basically saying how, you know, disgusted and outraged he was at this. And basically said that his parishioners should protest in any way they can. And they should boycott it and all this stuff. And he said, quote, I am absolutely furious. He asked his parishioners to protest in any way they can. And he said, the fewer young people who saw it, the better. Now, there was a mixed kind of reception to the show. After the bishop complained, then the local parishioners were upset and they complained. So it was reported then that scores of calls came in. Again, this was only after the bishop voiced his opinion. And then one source actually says that there were 3 calls on the night. And 2 of them were complaining that that game show had been ripped off from, like I was saying, a British show. I don't know what the original one was called. But that was a rip-off of the British show. And the 3rd one was about the Nightie. The bishop said that he was inundated with phone calls of support because he took a stand. When asked for a comment, Eileen said that it was all too ridiculous to put into words. And she said that it was just a bit of fun. So on the Monday, the title of the video comes from the Irish Times article that came out then on the Monday, the 14th of February. And they titled it The Bishop and the Nightie. And basically they were kind of, I suppose, criticising / slagging the bishop. They basically said, like, the country's going to hell, but don't worry, like, the bishops are on it. And they pointed out, like, the bishop was obviously up late enough to watch that on the Saturday night, when only the weekend before he had left some meeting while people were still speaking or whatever, because like, oh, he had to be up early on Sunday for mass. So like they were kind of pointing out, well, like you were able to stay up late to watch the show, like, but you couldn't do this thing that you probably were supposed to be doing. On the 15th then, the Tuesday, Gay Byrne released a statement. And he said that it was not the show's intention to embarrass viewers, and that it was always hoped to make it enjoyable. He did, though, point out that it was an adult show at a time where it should have been like adults viewing it. It was purely just because like sex shouldn't be getting talked about, anything like that just shouldn't be discussed. The Irish Catholic magazine said it was a public discussion of bedroom relations, and they denounced the Late Late Show. The Loughrea Town Commissioners called to have it taken off the air. Mayo, GAA and Meath VEC also condemned the show. But the funny thing is, like, so the whole thing is like, oh, sex shouldn't be discussed and this and that and all. I've listened to the audio. When Patrick says transparent, there's like a couple of small light giggles, but not a big huge thing. And he said that without missing a beat. And then he even followed up with when Gay Byrne then said like, oh, what colour do I put that under? Well, it depends on what way you're looking at it. So maybe he wasn't trying to be dirty with the second kind of comment, but it could be taken as something kind of a bit. But again, the bishop wasn't annoyed at that. The bishop was annoyed because Eileen, the woman, said she wasn't wearing a nightie. So like, how dare a woman try to be sexual on air? In the book, This Great Nation, it does say though that this did damage the hierarchy of the Catholic Church in Ireland. I mean, not to a huge effect, because this was the 60s, and for a long time after that they still had a big hold on us. But it does kind of say, you know, like people were like, how could you get so annoyed over the game? You know, that's all it was. Like, it clearly didn't affect the ratings because the show is still going, and there was never like a hiatus, it always went. Months later, a cleric like belonging of, you know, in Bishop Ryan's parish or whatever area, met the brother-in-law of Gay Byrne, and he was told to send on his apologies to Gay Byrne, his regrets for the night. And then in Gay Byrne's autobiography later on, he said that he thinks maybe the bishop was worse for the drink that night. Just to also give a bit of an idea of the timeline then. So the previous month, January 1966, Victor Lowndes, who was like a representative of Playboy, was supposed to be on the show. Now, to be honest, I'm surprised that they were allowing that in the first place. I'm very surprised. Well, he was supposed to be, and he was dropped after it was revealed, or he said, or whatever, that he hoped to recruit like young girls, young women from Ireland. Now, I don't know, like, was that a bit of a joke, or did he genuinely think women were going to start being like, yeah, I want to be there? I don't know. And then the following month from that, so March 1966, Brian Travaskis, I hope I'm saying that right, was a Trinity College student. And he was on the show, and he actually was openly criticising Bishop Michael Brown. So he was also a bishop in Galway, but obviously in a different part. Basically spending money, you know, like on the church. They must have had a big new building, because he called it a monstrosity. And he said like they should have been using money to like feed the poor and stuff like this. And Brian called the bishop a moron. And when the bishop said to him like, do you know what the word moron means? Brian said, I don't think you know what the word Christian means. Yeah, so that's basically it. I just wanted to do like a little mini thing. I just thought it was an interesting story. There are other kind of Catholic Church debacles that tied up with the Late Late Show. There's a couple I might cover later on. If you want to have a read now anyway, if you literally just look up like the Wikipedia page for the Late Late Show, you'll learn obviously about all of it, Gay Byrne, all of that stuff, the Late Late Toy Show. And then the different kind of controversies throughout the years. So there has been a lot of controversies. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope to have 2 out this week, 2 mini videos, and then I'm currently working on my next long video. And yeah, so stay safe. Put your sun cream on in the summer for the bit of the summer that we have. We were supposed to have a heat wave, and apparently this was the 5 minutes of it, because the rest of the time has been dull and cloudy and rainy. And yeah, that's it. That's just my rant about sunburn. So yeah, I shall see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.